What's that sound? It's for amusement only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast.
Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Coin-Op Carnival is rolling along. Ryan has done another couple tour stops on our 2019 Coin-Op Carnival tour, and another is coming up June 2nd at the Pinball Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, Nevada, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then I will be giving a presentation at the Richmond Pinball Collective, and that's June the 9th, again from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Please come out if you're able and join us at one of those events. Ryan is not giving a presentation at the Pinball Hall of Fame, but he will be there to autograph books if you so desire. And I will be giving the presentation and then autographing books and answering questions if you have any after the show. What day is today? It's New Game Day. Unexpected, but an Auto Bell Super Circus showed up in the bingo parlor today. This is a flasher slot machine. It is a vertically oriented console, and the slot action happens through lamps on the back glass. And if you get 3 in a row, depending on the symbol, then you win. Now, this game had been converted from replay to payout, and it's been converted in kind of an interesting manner. They inserted the world's largest payout tube into the game. It basically goes from floor to ceiling in the cabinet, and at the bottom, they wired up a solenoid to drive the payout shoe and kick out a couple nickels. But it's almost like they didn't quite finish the conversion because the nickels don't actually drop directly into the chute. I wonder if there used to be a piece there that kind of funneled the nickels into the appropriate spot, and it is no longer there. Another interesting thing, coin rejects actually drop down into the bottom of the cabinet. They don't they don't return back to the player. I feel like that wasn't quite fully considered, but at any rate, the game looks like it's probably a lot of fun. I passed up on one of these a few years ago at York that was in the flea market, and I'm excited to have one in the game room. It's always nice to have new game, and slot machines do appeal to a different demographic than pinball. So there will be people who will come and play this game that wouldn't play the pinballs otherwise. The cabinet's been painted brown, but I believe that the original artwork is still underneath. So Ava has volunteered to help me restore this game. So that brings me to 5-star, which Sophie is helping me with. So Sophie and I managed to finish up the playfield. There were a couple parts that I needed to order. For example, the balls that needed to go inside the game. It takes 1-inch balls. I didn't have any spares. And there was a 4-inch playfield rubber that I needed, and I used my last one on the left side, but I needed one for the right side. So those parts arrived and got them installed. Dennis Stodel sent a new tilt bob. The original tilt bob had basically exploded inside the game through transport. It looked like it banged around in such a way that it just crumbled into dust. So the new one's installed, ready to go, and the game is having some issues. So Sophie and I turned it on for the first time the other day and dropped a nickel in. It's not set to free play, although it says that there are 6 replays on the back glass. Dropping a nickel in added a card, which it looked like it was supposed to do, but it didn't pulse the solenoid that allows the balls to be freed from under the playfield and return to the ball lifter mechanism. So there's some kind of issue there. The ball lifter itself is nice and clean. Sophie scrubbed the heck out of that thing and polished it up. It's beautiful. You can eat off of it. But unfortunately, it won't lift balls. So the one thing it needs to do doesn't do very well at the moment. There is something electrically that's causing it to stop the motor before it should. There's just a switch that's not gapped properly. So Sophie will go in there and get that fixed here soon, and then the lifter should be working. But without the game freeing the balls to play, it makes it rather challenging to start a game. So I think something in the startup sequence is not quite right. So we'll start troubleshooting that, see what happens. Otherwise, the game has had a complete overhaul, and everything is moving freely, and it should be working properly. That said, I knew it came to me with some kind of problem in at least one of the steppers, so I'm going to take a look at that and see if I can figure out what's going on with those. Luckily, the steppers are of a nice variety where they can only be 180 degrees off. They can't be, some other random amount of degrees off. So that helps things as far as testing goes. I've been working on Robo-Frenzy, and I went over to my friend Joe's house, and he helped me drill out some spots for new wipers on the player position units. These units will handle the player movement. As the player rotates the steering mechanism, it will allow the player to traverse up or down the hill on the back glass. However, in order to make this function, I took what are essentially match units, the 0 to 90 units from a couple of Williams games, and they use snowshoe rivets, and they will be freewheeling. So instead of coil driven, they will actually be driven by a reduction gear that will allow for some fairly precise player control. But in order to make this happen, I needed wipers that were 180 degrees apart from each other for both coils and lamps, because it drives both from the player position units. So I had to drill into the bakelite, and then the next task is to see if I could possibly reuse some of the wipers, because there are too many wipers on the match units, or to see if perhaps Steve Young has some new old stock wipers and collars that can be installed into the bakelite. If not, then I'm going to have to get real creative, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll have an update for you next episode. In other news, service calls have slowed down, thankfully. This is kind of a busy season for me at work, and I've been spending a lot of time at work and not as much time working on games. But I'm looking forward to getting back into the swing of things here in the next couple weeks, and then see if I can get some of these projects complete. But until that time, let's talk about another game, and that is Genco's 1939 Bang. Bang is a flipperless game, and there are 12 bumpers arrayed on the playfield in banks of 4, 3 sets of 4 going down the playfield. And they're arrayed left to right, or they're numbered left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Down at the bottom, there are rollovers, and more on those in a moment. The big come-on feature for the game are 3 trap holes, which are arrayed in the center of the playfield. If you hit the trap hole at the top, it knocks out the lights for 1 through 4. The one in the middle knocks out 5 through 8, and the one at the bottom knocks out 9 through 12. Once you knock out all 12 bumper lights, then you're awarded 2 replays automatically, and each additional bumper hit awards another replay. So you can win this game with only 3 balls played, and then 2 additional balls to just rack up replays, which I think is awesome. Another interesting thing is that the rollovers will light at seemingly random intervals down at the bottom, and if you hit a lit one, it is lit, I should say, then you're awarded 2 replays for that as well. So with skillful nudging, you can make quite a few replays off of a single ball. Say you lock your first 3, then you've already got 2 replays, and then your next ball is all gravy, and if you manage to hit the lit rollover, you finish off the ball with 2 additional replays, and then fire off your last ball. And this just seems like a replay festival here. And I think the title is pretty apt. Bang, because you're hearing the replays tick up all the time. This looks like a fun game, especially if you're a big fan of replays like I am. The back glass has the numbers 1 through 12 arrayed in the shape of a clock, and there appears to be, it's either a stylized clock or a propeller on the back glass, and each row of bumpers is a different color on the playfield. So you have red, yellow, and green, and the rollovers at the bottom are also red, yellow, and green. And the back glass also contains red, yellow, and green circles. So again, I think this is a attractive game, and I think it's a fairly straightforward game, very easy to understand. The bumpers themselves are illuminated in that beautiful spring bumper way, which I really like. I think it's very appealing. So this is a game I would love to play, and it looks like one that's a lot of fun to play. It looks like it's relatively easy to win, or at least it sounds that way. Of course, the ad makes it sound like you come close all the time, but don't quite take the cigar. So take that for what it's worth. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for listening. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast at gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to me on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter, at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, also at Bingo Podcast, or you can listen to me on my website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.